So let's dive into Aaron Banks here and talk about what he brings to the table and whether or not we should sign him back. And I bet everybody in the chat's already saying, nope, don't want him. Don't want him, right? And listen, I understand it. It was a bad look this year. Goody nailed free agency last year. Like, obviously Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, those free agent signings, he crushed them, right? Boy, this year, Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs, if we decide to keep them, man, I hope they blow up, guys. I really hope they have a great year. I don't want you guys to take this as I'm rooting against them so Goody can be wrong. No. I want Goody to be 100% right on every one of his decisions, right? I want the Packers to field the best team. But based off what we've seen with Aaron Banks last year, it was an ugly look, and I'll explain everything now. So his cap hit this year is $24.8 million, okay? If you cut him pre-June 1, you can free up $4.5 million. I'm kind of to the point where, is he starting caliber? He didn't play like it last year, to be honest. In my opinion, he didn't. Is he someone that you would pay $10 million cap hit for to play? No, he's not. So when you ask those questions at 24.8, I think it's pretty straightforward. I do not want him. The way he played last year, in my opinion, it's not worth $10 million. So that answers the question, right? Now, if you cut him this year pre-June 1, $4.5 million is all you're freeing up. So it's not like you're getting a huge chunk of change. However, if you designate him post-June 1 cut like we did Zadarius Smith when we moved on from him, if you'll remember, $18 million is what you're freeing up. So if you decide the offensive line was not good enough and you're going to move on from Elgton Jenkins and Aaron Banks, and you just cut Elgton Jenkins outright, $20 million, and then you go post-June 1 for Aaron Banks, you're freeing up $38 million. $38 million. Okay, to go and kind of revamp your offensive line. Now, what would it take to go get two solid offensive linemen? Can you do that with over $30 million in cap space? I feel comfortable saying you could. Now, again, especially if you could find someone that you could structure in a way that you did Aaron Banks, is when we broke the Aaron Banks news here, and we didn't break the news, but we covered the breaking news of Aaron Banks signing with the Green Bay Packers, okay? When that happened, the first thing we did was, we got to see the structure of the contract. Everybody was freaking out going, why did they give this guy a 4-year, $77 million deal? That's what's being reported from the agents. They're going to show the big number. And again, as soon as the contract details dropped, I went live, told the details of the contract. I said, guys, this is a very, very, very safe signing, if you will. Everyone's talking about $77 million. That $77 million doesn't mean a rat's ass. Like, you got to get that number out of your head. What you got to look at is the guaranteed money and the cap allocation. Okay. Again, the cash, the guaranteed money, that's the money you're actually on the hook for. The allocation is the accounting of the entire contract. So the way they set it up was, I said, this is actually typically Goody. If he signs a 4-year deal with somebody, it's usually a 4 that's really a 3. A 3-year deal is really a 3 that's really a 2, right? In this case, it was a 4 that's actually a 1. And let me explain what that means. And you show here on Spot Track the potential outs in 2026, right? So his cap hit last year was $9 million. What did I just say? Would I be willing to pay him $10 million against the cap this year? Nope. Wouldn't be willing to do it, right? They didn't even pay it last year. So again, the first year of these deals are typically low cap allocation, and it's because they moved the larger cap out a little bit. And here's how this works. This year, his cap hit being $24.8 million, the dead cap attached is 20.2. Some cases it's being said 20.4. Again, I try to get things within a couple of $1 million, and I'm good with that. I ain't sweating that, okay? So that's how it was set up to get the potential out after 2025. So Goody went in. I think the way Goody approached this contract was, and listen, regardless of if whether or not you gave yourself a backdoor to exit, which is what he did here in 2020 after the 2025 season, it doesn't mean it was a good signing, a safe signing. It's just, oh, well, we'll give it a shot. We came out of that Philadelphia Eagles playoff loss after getting our asses kicked in the trenches, and we came out and said, well, this guy might be good. Let's give a 1 plus a 3 here. And that's what we did. And what result did we get this year? We got horrible offensive line play, and specifically from Aaron Banks. So, again, that's how it's structured. And if you look ahead, let's say you decide to keep him at 24.8. I don't think they'll keep him at that number. They'll either reduce that cap number or they'll move on from Aaron Banks. Okay. But let's say you do that, right? And you keep him at 24.8, and then you move on next year. Well, next year is 22.2 million against the cap and 13.5 dead cap. So you can actually free up significantly more money in that regard. But again, the post June 1 cut, according to Over the Cap's website, is, like we said just a second ago, you could free up $4.5 million pre-June 1, post-June 1, $18 million. So if it's me and I've got the reins and I'm making the decision, I'm moving on from Aaron Banks. I'm going post-June 1 cut, freeing up $18 million and moving forward trying to fix this freaking offensive line. Now, here's the problem with moving on from both Elgton Jenkins and Aaron Banks. What has Clayton's main complaint been all year long? I know you guys know it. We cannot continue to go out there and field the youngest roster in the league. We can't keep doing this. This is 3 years in a row, and there's conflicting reports. I've done the research, and one report that AI filled out for me says the Seattle Seahawks are the only team in NFL history to win the Super Bowl with the youngest roster in the league. Now, another report said, no, technically they weren't the youngest. It's never been done. So you guys do your own research and come up with what you want there. But the reality is, let's say that the Seahawks were the youngest team in the league the year that they won one of their Super Bowls. Okay, let's say that's the case, right? Since the merger and the Super Bowl in 1967, okay, so 67 to 2025. I mean, math's hard for us Kentucky guys here. Let me do the math here. Let's see how many years that actually is. Like, how many years have we been playing the Super? Let's just go 2025 so we don't over-embellish, minus 1967. So 58 years in the history of the Super Bowl. For 58 years, there's only been one team that fielded the youngest roster and won the Super Bowl. I don't like those odds, guys. So that's been my argument all year. Is like, we've got to add veterans. Well, you're cutting 2 veterans if you move on from Elgton Jenkins and Aaron Banks. When I say I want to move on from those guys, here's what I mean. I mean move on from those guys and replace them with veterans. I don't mean move on from those guys and replace them with a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick, because you're going to go out there with another inexperienced offensive line and you're going to get your teeth bashed in the trenches. It's going to happen. So I want to be very clear in that. Let's talk about how Aaron Banks performed before we wrap up. PFF grade said he was the 56th ranked guard. Now, keep in mind, there's 2 guards starting on every team. So that's in the top 64 would suggest your starting caliber, okay? So he was a starting caliber guard according to PFF grade standards, all right? But still, $24.8 million against the cap this year for the 56th ranked at his position. No. You're overpaying for above average, essentially. And what's crazy is I don't think that 55.6 is above average. It might actually be average. But from a ranking standpoint, you're paying $24.8 million for above average. Let's just call it that. That is the epitome. You're overpaying for above average. We say we don't overpay for good. You're willing to overpay for great. You never overpay for good, right? This is a no-brainer. Like, unless he's going to take a huge pay cut, I think you got to move on from Aaron Banks. Now, I don't know how to say this in a nice way. There's been a track record with Brian Gutekunst believing in and keeping players that all the warning signs are flashing. This is not a good football player. Let me give you an example. Darnell Savage. You drafted him in the 1st round. He never lived up to 1st-round status. Then you hit him with the 5th-year option, which I think was, I want to say it was $8 million fully guaranteed. Regardless, you said, you know what? We haven't had enough. Let's bring him back for a 5th season. Guys, that's tough. That's a tough look, man. He has a track record of doing this, especially with his draft picks. So I would not be surprised. I'm trying to say this in a tactful way. I would not be surprised if they keep Aaron Banks. They do some kind of contract restructure and they keep him. Now, if Goody moves on from Aaron Banks, then we got to tip our cap and applaud. He's changing. He's evolving, moving forward. Because, again, you just can't have someone ranked 56th at their position and $24.8 million against the cap. It's just wild. Let's talk about PFF efficiency. Again, that's a pass blocking efficiency grade. So it's their signature stat measuring pressures allowed on a per snap basis with weighting towards sacks allowed. Okay. Where did he rank? 70th amongst all guards with a 96.6 efficiency grade. You see 96.6 and think that's a good efficiency grade. It's kind of like the Caleb Williams stuff that came out yesterday. His adjusted completion percentage is actually 69%. So he's actually, would be completing 69% of his passes when you remove all the noise. Okay, you're just going to conveniently not mention that that's ranked 41st in the league? What are we doing? So again, yes, it's a 96.6 efficiency grade, but where does it rank at his position? Aaron Banks is 70th. Not going to get it done. Not going to get it. You can see that's not even starting 64 caliber, right? That's out. That's saying that is a backup guard at best, according to the efficiency grade. Run blocking, one of his weak spots. He was 68th in PFF run blocking grade, right, at a 56.3. What was our big problem on offense this year, guys? We could not run the rock. We could not move the ball in the trenches, right, in the running game. We could not move the ball. Aaron Banks was a big part of that. Elgton Jenkins, the year before at guard, right, a little bit easier to run the rock. You move Elgton Jenkins to center. Aaron Banks comes in and replaces him at left guard, and it didn't work. I was excited about the Aaron Banks signing because Goody had a lot of success, in my opinion, at evaluating offensive line. When he went and drafted Zach Tom in the 4th round, home run pick, right? Rasheed Walker in the 7th round, I wouldn't keep Rasheed Walker at the market value of $20 million per. I don't think he's worth that. I think that's overpaying for good. Maybe not even good, maybe above average. I would say good. That would be overpaying for good as opposed to overpaying for great. So I don't want him back. But still, the fact that you got significant starts out of Rasheed Walker, albeit you've seen the penalties down the stretch, the mistakes he made down the stretch, the blown blocks he made down the stretch. He was a 7th round pick. So I looked at Rasheed Walker in the 7th, Zach Tom in the 4th, and said, Goody knows how to evaluate offensive linemen. That's why when he signed Aaron Banks, I looked at the analytics and went, what are we doing? And I had to take a step back and go, I don't know more than an NFL GM. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know that, right? So I got to check my ego at the door and go, okay, I'm going to trust Goody here because he found Zach Tom, he found Rasheed Walker. Well, our gut was right initially. Everyone who was looking at this going, what are we doing here? It's kind of like with Anthony Belton, okay? This wasn't the only offensive line miss so far, okay, with Aaron Banks. You guys remember when we drafted Anthony Belton, we were live in Green Bay doing our draft show, all right? And we pointed out, where is he? Where is Anthony Belton? We had Anthony Belton on our board. He was lit up gold saying these are Goody's tops right here. But we had a 109.0 grade on him. So low number wins. What that 109 suggests, the way our draft board is built, is he's somewhere around the 109th pick is where we have his value. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't be valued at 90. It's just kind of very, very vaguely speaking in how we do our grading system with our draft board, probably looking to get him around the 100 to the 110 mark. Well, we took Anthony Belton in the 2nd round. Our initial reaction was with Anthony Belton, that's a reach, right? But I remember Jacob going, what the hell are we doing live on the stream, right? And I said, Jacob, man, and I don't know if I told him then or off the show or what, but I do specifically remember saying, maybe we need to trust Goody here, man. He knows how to evaluate offensive linemen. He swung and missed on Morgan, and it's on Banks, but it's early. It's early, but it looks like he swung and missed on Anthony Belton. And I know people say, oh, you can't grade a draft in the first year. I completely agree. I'm not saying cut Anthony Belton, but this idea that Anthony Belton played good football this year is just wrong. Anthony Belton graded out in the 40s, right? When you watch the tape, when I ask people, what did you like about Anthony Belton, right? He looked bad when he played tackle. He looked better when he played guard. But what did you like about Anthony Belton? Well, he's a baller. Okay, cool. So our run game, how's it doing? Oh, it's cheeks. If he's so damn good, why didn't the run game get better when we brought him in? Why did the run game get worse? He's playing right guard. Now, the thing that people overlooked, I think that when you had to move to Sean Ryan at center because Elgton Jenkins goes down, and now all of a sudden Anthony Belton, whether it was the next game or a few games after, Anthony Belton starts getting some snaps at guard. You see the run game improve a little bit. Immediately people went to, well, the run game got better when Anthony Belton played guard. actually, in my opinion, the run game got better when Sean Ryan was playing center. Now, the problem is Sean Ryan pass blocking was real bad. So you see the strength in the run blocking, but now his pass blocking gets a little bit worse. Elgton Jenkins is a significantly better center than Sean Ryan. However, Sean Ryan played really good in the run game, in my opinion, run blocking. But that's what Sean Ryan does. He's a mauling guard that they put at center. So he got to pick on some guys in the run game, right? So again, I'm not saying Anthony Belton should be cut. I'm not saying Anthony Belton's a bust. I'm simply saying we were praising Brian Gutekunst because we said we needed help on the offensive line. And what did he do? He went out. We were praising him because we were saying we got to do something. We got killed in the trenches, right? We need to bolster this offensive line. He went into free agency. He overpaid for Aaron Banks, and he reached on Anthony Belton as it sits right now. According to our board, and again, it's not everything. We could be wrong. I'm not trying to say I know more than Goody, but all the information we have, PFF grades, our draft board that's comprised of the draft experts that we trust and how they look at prospects, that's where the ranking comes in. It's not our personal opinion on how we felt about Anthony Belton. It's how does Dane Brugler feel about him? How does Greg Cosell feel about him? How does the consensus big board feel about him? How did PFF feel about him? That's where he fell into the 109 spot. Not 109 ranking, but the 109 grade. So again, he may end up being a great offensive lineman, but the two picks that Goody made, Anthony Belton and Aaron Banks, year one, not good. We praised him for Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom. If you see it, you got to say it. You got to criticize him for the negatives as well. Now, potential draft replacements this year. I'm not going to read all these names off. We've talked about them already. You know, I mentioned Jake Slaughter as a potential center replacement. He's a top 100 prospect at 87. Connor Lew, I need to do a little more research on him. I picked him just in a random mock draft last night. He was available when we picked in the second round. I took him. And there were people on X going, what a horrible pick. And Lew, consensus big board has Connor Lew at 57. There were other people saying he tore his ACL. Guys, I didn't do a random mock draft in my free time last night and dig into people's injury history. I'm sorry, right? I wasn't on there going, here's the draft class we need. I was just like, let me do a quick little mock draft, throw it out there and let everybody know, hey, it's that season, right? So we'd have to do research into all these guys. The board's going to come alive in about 48 hours. The board is really going to come alive. We're going to have the 2025 PFF grades, the PFF big board ranking, and the consensus big board rankings go in. And then we're going to be set and ready for the college all-star games and all that. So, yeah, with that being said, that's a couple of names that come to mind for me. Like if Emmanuel Pregnon, if I'm saying that right, interior offensive lineman for Oregon, if he were to fall in the second round, maybe that's somebody you could pick up. Now, it looks like the early mocks have him going number 28 to Houston, so he probably won't make it out of the first round, at least early in this with this information. But those are two guys that kind of come to mind for me. And Chase Basantis, interior offensive line for Texas A&M. Now, on our draft board, the other thing, and again, you guys will have access to this. Let me throw it up on the screen. If you guys want to join our Patreon group, patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access, you'll have access to our draft board as we update it. On the draft board, when we determine this guy's got significant center experience, he'll be lit up light blue. So you'll know when you look at the board, you'll see some guys in green, some guys in blue, and everybody else in white. And what that means is the green means tier one position of importance. On offense, tackles, quarterback. And then on defense, edge, 3-tech. And most of the time, we'll just group the defensive tackles in there too if they've got any experience at 3-tech because they play a lot of nickel. A lot of teams play a lot of nickel, 2-4-5 and 3-3-5 cub at the college football level. So you'll get those guys lit up in green. In the blue are tier two positions of importance. On offense, center, defense, stack backer, post safety. Okay. So that's you'll be able to look at the board and go, okay, let's sort by interior offensive lineman. Oh, here's the guys lit up in blue. Those are your center prospects. So we'll explain all that in the Patreon group. Again, $3 gets you access to everything at Patreon. It's just the best way to support what we do here at PTA. And yeah, you'll get access to all the chats. You'll get access to the draft board, the article, everything that we just put together, all this information that I compiled and kind of gave my opinion on, you can find it in there. You get first dibs on all of that. So with that being said, if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about Aaron Banks? Do you want him back? If you want him back, at what number? What would we need to get that cap number down to? What kind of pay cut would he have to take in order to justify keeping Aaron Banks on this offensive line? Or do we got to bite the bullet and get Young again? I hate I hate both options, but that's kind of where we're at. This was a swing and a miss, and it kind of put us behind the 8 ball a little bit. Again, in my opinion, I think you cut both of them, and then let Elgton test the market. If he comes back and nobody offers him 10 million, I'd be willing to give him 10 or 15 million for 1 year, right? And give a big guarantee, bring him back and let him play guard or center, and then adjust, go get another free agent. You got to shore up that offensive line, though. So let us know in the comments how you feel about that. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on broadcasts here in the future. Let's